5 reasons why you are still anxious. You have done everything, okay? I know that you have. You've tried the therapy, you've done the meditations, you've done the breath work, the journaling, seen the chiropractor, the physio, read all of the books, watched all the videos, researched so much, and yet here you are in this space every single day with this like anxiety that just doesn't go away. Sometimes the anxiety gets worse and you almost have like a panic attack. Other times it's just quietly there in the background. And no matter what you do, it just doesn't leave you alone. And it's such a frustrating spot to be in. As a naturopathic doctor who's helped thousands of patients rewire their brain, supported their nervous system state, and really helped them get to this place where they feel really calm and regulated and like the best version of themselves. I've seen so many patients who have come to me and come to me with that same issue of they've tried everything, yet their anxiety still isn't going away. And so, after just working with all of these patients, I've started to see some of those similar patterns that just keep coming up over and over and over again. And honestly, it's not even just with my patients, it's been with me as well. I struggled with chronic depression and anxiety for 5 years of my life. I know very much what it's like to be in that space where your nervous system is so dysregulated. Like, my anxiety was so bad at one point, especially when I was in undergrad. I remember there was a point where I was studying for my exams and I just felt this like panic attack wave come on me. And I remember just like going to my window at that point and there was a screen over my window. I opened the window and just pressed my face up against the screen and I was just like breathing like like unable to catch my breath. Like, so I've been there. I very much know what it feels like to be in that really panic state. And I also just know what it's like to live with that anxiety every single day and it's no fun. Like, I feel like you really end up missing out on so much in life because you're living with that anxiety. There are so many things that I look back on in my life now that I'm like, I could have, done all those things or I would have done this differently. But at the end of the day, I have no regrets. Everything has led me to where I am now. It has led me to me being here in front of you now, able to teach you, to empower you, because I don't want you to live in that anxious state. I want you to feel how delicious and delightful and beautiful and incredible life can feel when you're finally out of that anxious state and when you're finally so rooted and grounded in yourself. So watch this video until the end because I'm going to be sharing 5 reasons as to why you're still stuck in that anxiety and most importantly, what you can do about it. And I can promise you, you're going to relate to at least one of these reasons in here. So reason number 1 is that you are not supporting your body. This is a huge one. So many of the patients that I've worked with have come to me and they're like, I've done so much of the mindset work. I've gone to the therapy. I've done like, energy work. I've done neurofeedback. I've done all of these things, but my anxiety still isn't going away. And that is where me as a naturopathic doctor really steps in because my goal here when I work with my patients is to apply that holistic approach to great mental health and well-being. I don't know where down the line we all get it confused and mixed up that mental health is just all in your mind. It's not. The way that you take care of your body, how you support your body is going to have a direct role in how your mind plays. Why? Because your mind is in your body. I always like to describe the sunflower analogy just to help it really make sense for you. Like, imagine you had a sunflower, you plucked it out of the ground, and then you threw it into the freezer. And then you got upset that the sunflower didn't grow in the freezer. But it's like, obviously, a sunflower is not going to grow in a freezer. That's not the ideal environment for it to grow in. In order for a sunflower to really grow, it needs soil, it needs the sun, it needs water, it needs oxygen. And that's what's really going to help the sunflower grow. The same thing goes for your mind. You need to put your mind in a body that's really well taken care of if you want your mind to flourish. And so when it comes to taking care of your body, we know through the research that specific root causes, so things like your blood sugar, your gut health, your liver health, nutrient deficiencies, your mitochondria, your hormone health, all of these things can play a role in how your brain and especially your mind function. One of the biggest things that I see in my practice and underlying root causes is blood sugar dysregulation. I always teach my patients about this because if your blood sugar is up and down all throughout the day, and it's not necessarily that, you're going to be diagnosed with diabetes and that's the only way your blood sugar can be dysregulated. Even with just ups and downs and just normal blood sugar level throughout the day, that can cause anxiety because if you get a big blood sugar high, you're going to get a crash. And when we experience that crash, we can experience that anxiety. And then we can even experience the anxiety if our blood sugar levels get way too high because all of those states, so blood sugar levels too high, blood sugar levels too low, These are states of stress in our body. And when we're in states of stress, what ends up happening is that your body is going to release your hormone cortisol, and that at the end of the day is going to cause that anxious state to come on. So, really important that you're supporting your body. I always get my patients to do blood work. We look at their health history. I go through specific signs and symptoms to make sure their body is functioning well. And I help my patients support their body through their diet, through their movement, through their sleep, and through supplements. And oftentimes I've seen just such a massive difference literally in the span of weeks with my patients when their body is supported. All the mindset work starts to work so much better. So please don't get frustrated at yourself if you feel like you're still in that anxious state. Honestly, the truth probably is that you haven't supported your body enough and in the right ways. Because here's the other thing too, right? You can go on, social media and look up all the ways to support your body, but you need to make sure that you are supporting your specific body in the way it needs support. Some of my patients who come to me that have anxiety, their issue is blood sugar dysregulation. For other patients, their issue is actually their gut health. And then for other patients, their issue is their hormone. And then for other patients, their issue is their nutrient deficiencies. So one person having anxiety can have different types of root causes that are actually causing the anxiety to happen in the first place. And that's why it's so important you actually work with a practitioner who knows what they're doing, who can do the blood work and support you accordingly. So remember that sometimes it's not your mind that's the issue, it's actually your body that probably needs support. Reason number 2 as to why you're probably still anxious is because you're not forming a different relationship with your anxiety and you're running away from it every single time it comes up. And I'll be honest with you, this is a really hard one to sit with. Literally, because that's what I'm asking you to do here. I remember when I was working on overcoming my anxiety, it was hard because when anxiety as an emotion shows up in your body, what's the first thing you want to do? The first thing you want to do is to not feel it. So what do? We tend to distract ourselves. We can, distract ourselves using our phone. We can overeat. We can even calling a friend can be a bit of a distraction from what's actually happening and going on in your body. I remember I used to use alcohol a lot. Like I would have that 1 or 2 glasses of wine every single night to get through the anxiety and the stress that I was experiencing. Food was another big coping mechanism that I would use to distract myself. Overbooking my social schedule and calendar, so I literally never had any free time. That was a way I was distracting myself from the emotions that I was experiencing as well. And this is a dangerous space to be in because what starts to happen is when we feel an uncomfortable emotion like anxiety, like anger, like sadness, if we feel it and all of a sudden we go into this like, oh my God, I don't want to feel this emotion. And then what do? We end up distracting ourselves. What we're teaching our brain and body in that moment is that this emotion, it's too scary for us to feel. This emotion is dangerous and we can't feel it. So what ends up happening is that every time you feel this emotion, you freak out, you panic. And that's exactly what we don't want because the more that you freak out and panic when you experience the anxiety, the stronger of a hold and grasp it has on you. And it becomes really difficult for you to move through it. Because at the end of the day, anxiety as an emotion can't kill you. And I know it doesn't always feel like that because if you've ever had a panic attack, I have had it, you know that it literally feels like it is going to kill you, but it's not. It's not going to kill you. And so what becomes very important is if you're just like, okay, this is so me, this could be one of the reasons why I feel stuck in the anxieties because I keep running away from it. You need to actually form a different relationship with your anxiety. One of the things that I like to teach my patients is I really teach them how to process their emotions in a really healthy, effective way so that emotions don't have this like big grasp and hold on them because we want our bodies to be able to feel all of these emotions and to recognize that it's okay and safe for us to feel them because as a human, you're gonna feel all the emotions. I always remind my patients and tell them that no matter how great you get at regulating your emotions, you are going to feel all the emotions. I do all the time. I feel sadness and anger and anxiety, even because anxiety is a normal emotion to feel. So I feel all of these emotions, and you are also going to feel all of these emotions, and that is okay. We want to make it safe for our body to feel these emotions. There's nothing wrong with feeling any of these emotions. And the more that you run away from these emotions, the more you're teaching your body that we can't feel them. They're too hard for us to face, that we're not strong enough. So to change that relationship up with anxiety, One of the best things that you can do, I recently just made a video about this on Instagram and TikTok where I was talking about my 90-second rule for sitting with emotions. Give yourself, just starting off, just 90 seconds to sit with it. Before you do anything with the anxiety, just sit with it and be with it. Because what you're doing in that moment is you're just telling your brain and body it's safe for us to feel. You're showing your brain and body, like, oh, look, we can feel the anxiety and we don't feel like we're dying and everything is still okay. And the more that you learn to actually sit with the anxiety, it's really cool because it's like all these emotions start to become like your friends. So now when I feel specific emotions, instead of running away from the emotion, I almost like talk to it and I ask it, okay, anxiety, you're here. What are you trying to tell me right now? Do I need to support myself in some sort of way? And what can I do to support myself right now? Anger, what are you saying? Like, hey, what's up, dog? You know? And literally just talking to my emotions as if they're friends. And what's really powerful about this too is that you just become your own healer and you start to see that you have all the answers that you need within you to support yourself. It's all just about tuning in, slowing down, and most importantly, giving yourself space and permission to just feel. Feeling is healing, okay? That's what I'm gonna end off with, that. Feeling is healing. Reason number 3 as to why you're still anxious, and I'm gonna piggyback kind of off of the last reason, but this is more so going to be more outward focused, is that you are avoiding the things that are making you anxious. Very important to tune into this and ask yourself, are you continuously avoiding the things that you know are going to cause you anxiety? Because what starts to happen is, say you recognize that, going out makes you feel anxious and you're just like, I'm just not going to go out anymore. You're not actually improving your anxiety in that moment. What you're doing is you're actually making your anxiety stronger and you're making your world smaller. And you think that if you can make your world smaller and protect yourself and keep yourself in this tiny little like bubble that you've created for yourself, you're going to be safe, but you're not going to be safe. Instead, like, again, this comes from a place of love, what I'm just about to say to you, but you're making yourself weaker and weaker and weaker the more that you avoid the things that make you anxious. To an extent, okay? I'm not telling you here now to go put yourself in like a dangerous situation that's actively harmful for you, but I'm talking about the situations that make you feel anxious that you should be able to do. What becomes really important is starting to give yourself healthy moments where you can actually experience some of the anxiety. Because when you put yourself in some of these uncomfortable situations, it forces you to grow. It forces you to sit with the anxiety, to face it, and to teach your body that this anxiety is not going to kill us. And that's one of the best ways that you can actually build your inner strength. Avoiding the anxiety doesn't make you stronger from the anxiety. It actually gets anxiety to have a stronger grasp and clasp and hold on you instead. And I don't want that for you. I want you to feel like you are so strong, that you are so capable, like you can do anything you set your mind to. But if you continuously avoid the situations that make you anxious, that make you uncomfortable, thinking that you're protecting yourself, it's actually not. Of course, again, as long as it's keeping you out of harm's way, we definitely don't want you to put yourself in a harmful situation and position. But the things that are going to grow you outside of your comfort zone, you want to experience. I remember when I was working on overcoming my anxiety and depression when I was in university, I was doing so many things that made me uncomfortable. I was doing spoken word poetry, I was trying painting, I was putting myself in new social situations and groups. And I remember that the more of these uncomfortable things that I did, I felt myself just becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. I felt myself just feeling so capable, like I could literally do anything that I set my mind to. And it's because I was brave and courageous enough to face my anxiety and to continuously put myself in situations that made me uncomfortable. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be you putting yourself in that situation. Maybe, a really easy place to start is go do a hard workout. Right? Go do something that just makes you uncomfortable, pushes you outside of your comfort zone, and let your brain and body experience what that feels like. We try to spend so much of our lives keeping ourselves in our safe zone, keeping ourselves in that place where we feel the most comfortable, but with that, no growth ever comes. And to be honest with you, when I was struggling with my anxiety and depression, that was always the scariest thing for me, was just thinking about the fact that if I don't show up and do anything differently, that if I don't get out of my own way and get out of my comfort zone, I will be in this spot for potentially the next 10, 15, 20, for the rest of my life. I could be here. And that's what really, really scared me. And if you are so over your anxiety, then you need to start asking yourself and look at what are the situations that make me uncomfortable that I keep avoiding. Maybe you're avoiding having, that conversation that might cause conflict between your partner, and you're just avoiding having it just to maintain the peace because talking about conflict really makes you anxious. I just talked to one of my family members the other day, and he was saying how he hates conflict, but he just had a conversation with his partner about conflict and it made him so uncomfortable. And he told me he literally felt like not the best for a day. But after that, the anxiety went away and he felt really good about it. And in that moment, addressing that conflict actually made him stronger and it made it easier for him to talk about conflict the next time it shows up. So it gets easier every single time, but you need to take that first step. So be honest with yourself. What are the things that you are avoiding that make you anxious, but you know that if you did those things, you would grow in ways that you can't even imagine? Because I'm telling you, the healing and growth that you want are in the things that you don't feel like doing. Reason number 4 as to why you're still anxious is because you're doing way too many things without addressing things at the true root cause. The amount of times I'll have patients come to me, and again, they'll be like, I've been doing journaling and breath work and seeing this practitioner and seeing that practitioner, and here are the 10 different supplements that I'm taking. And I'm like, no wonder you're anxious. You're so overwhelmed. When we're doing too many things at once, our body gets so overwhelmed. Like, my big philosophy as a naturopathic doctor is like, you don't need 10 different supplements. My goal with my patients is always to do 5 or less. Like, if you're doing 10 different supplements, you're definitely doing something wrong because your body doesn't need that much. And honestly, your body gets overwhelmed when you try to do too much. And when you do too much, that on its own makes you feel anxious. Why? Because who has time for like a 10-step routine now? I don't. I got goals to accomplish. I have social plans. I have just so many things to do in my life. Like, I don't have time for a 10-step routine to take care of my health. And let's be honest, you don't either. The goal of working on your health isn't to make you more anxious and more overwhelmed. You should feel more relaxed working on your health. It should be something you enjoy doing, not something that actually overwhelms you. And one of the first things that I often do with all of my patients who come into my practice is I simplify their routine for them. I simplify things so much for them. And they're actually, sometimes my patients are just like really surprised and they're like, this is it? Like, this is all I have to do? And I'm like, yeah, this is all you have to do. And do it consistently because that's when you're going to see the biggest results. Because here's the other thing as well. When you do too much and add so much to your plate, it's really hard to be consistent with these things long term. And trying to get yourself to do so much every single day, that on its own is going to put you in a state of anxiety because you won't be able to do everything in a day. And then you'll end the day feeling so much worse about yourself. Versus if you told yourself, I just need to do these 3 things to support my health and well being. And if I do them, I'll be good. When you're in that place where you have to do less, it's so much easier to be consistent with it long term. And the way that you actually end up doing less is by making sure you address the root cause of where your anxiety is actually coming from. So earlier I'd mentioned that we know, for example, with the body, there are specific root causes like poor gut health, like inflammation, like nutrient deficiencies, like your hormones. All of these things can make anxiety feel a lot worse. And so when patients come to me, I'm not just giving them random things for their anxiety to support their body. We're looking at the root causes. And then on the mindset side of things, we want to make sure you're addressing things like how you're processing emotions, your limiting beliefs, the stories that you're telling yourself. Those are the mindset root causes that lead to anxiety. So if I tell my patients to do a meditation, to do a journaling exercise, it's not just any random meditation or journaling exercise. They're doing specific things that are going to address their specific root cause that needs support. Your health plan and protocol becomes so much easier when you're just supporting your specific root cause that actually needs help and support. And the last reason why you still feel really anxious despite doing everything that you're doing is because you don't fully feel safe in yourself and you don't have a great relationship with yourself and who you are. And this is because you're probably still outsourcing your worth, your validation. If someone doesn't text you back or do something specific for you, you don't feel good about yourself. If someone doesn't praise you or acknowledge how well you're doing, you don't feel good about yourself. And this outsourcing of self-worth, self-validation is one of the worst things that you can do because you will always feel anxious. You will never feel good enough about yourself until you find that true safety in yourself and who you are until you truly ground in yourself. And again, I'm speaking from personal experience. One of the biggest things that has caused me so much anxiety in my life was this piece about outsourcing all my worth and validation and everything and everybody else around me. And it wasn't until when I started to take that power back where I really started to feel safe in myself and I felt way less anxious because it started to matter just less and less of what someone else thought about me. And instead of a text message meaning me not getting a reply from a text message meaning that there's something wrong with me, I was like, I don't know, that person's maybe caught up with something. And I just stopped taking things so personally in my life anymore. When someone would say something rude or mean that just wasn't called for, it wasn't necessary, instead of making it mean something about me, I made it mean something about them because I refuse to take someone else's reactions, words, and put it on myself because I know who I am and I know who I truly am at my deepest core and deepest level. And when you know yourself at that core and level, when you have that strong relationship with yourself where you just find so much safety and groundedness in yourself and who you are, nothing outside of you can shake you. Nothing outside of you can take any sort of that power away from you. And that's a place that I really want you to get to, getting to that place of having that incredible relationship with yourself. Because you can do the journaling and meditation and therapy and all of these things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those things are helping you cultivate an incredible relationship with yourself. Because how you treat yourself when no one is watching is what shows the great relationship that you have with yourself or not. Truly. Because you can do all of these outside things, but how you speak to yourself on a day-to-day basis, how well you take care of yourself, how well you treat yourself, like tune into all of these things because they all show if you have a good relationship with yourself or not. And it wasn't until I started to spend more time with myself, change that inner voice to a really kind inner voice, that inner voice that just became my biggest cheerleader, when I stopped letting other people's emotions and opinions impact me because I know I'm okay and I don't need to carry whatever stuff is going on with them and put it on me. That's when things really started to shift with my anxiety because you can be doing all the right things, but if you don't have that strong relationship with yourself, you're going to be impacted by everything outside of you. And supporting my nervous system is also one of the things that really, really helped me with this. Learning how to calm my nervous system response down and not react to everything outside of me made the biggest shift for me. If you want more support with the nervous system piece of things, I'm going to be hosting a free masterclass where I'm going to be diving into the 6-step framework that I've walked thousands of patients through to help them rewire and reset their nervous system. It's going to be on Thursday, July 9th, and I'm hosting 2 sessions, one at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and the second one at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can use the link below to sign up and save your spot. This class is not going to be recorded, so you definitely want to show up live. This is what I have for you in this video. I want you to comment below and let me know which one of these signs that you relate to, because I'm telling you, start working on even any one of these 5 and it's going to make such a big difference in your anxiety and how you're going to feel. And hopefully I'll see you in the masterclass.